Turn to the right. Don't forget his prints, Ed.
Those are my friends Patty and Pete, and today we're gonna go over the haul-out plan that's gonna save this boat behind me, Argonaut II, from the rot in the planks, frames, and centerline that's holding the boat together. My name's Nicholas, and I live aboard a 103-year-old historic wooden boat, Argonaut II, and I'm on a mission to build community around this boat to help out with an ongoing restoration and preservation of its history. This is Port Townsend, Washington. It's one of my favorite places to visit, and this winter is going to be where I call home as I work on a 4-month project with some of the best shipwrights in the area to perform a major repair on this vessel in order to keep it going for another 50 to 100 years and to make it safe and seaworthy for bigger and better adventures in the seasons to come. I will be going over the haul-out plan later in the video, but first let me introduce you to the shipwrights that are going to be helping me along the way here in Port Townsend.
Is this the interview for the job?
Turn to the right. Don't forget his prints, Ed. Sounds like we're gonna work together again. We're gonna be doing outside work, Patrick.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've worked on a boat outside.
I have not. Oh yeah. Pete, take the floor.
I'm Pete Stein, a shipwright here in Port Townsend, Washington. I feel like I've said that 1,000 times. I'm Pete Stein, I'm a shipwright here in Port Townsend, Washington. I've been doing it about 15 years now. I do wood boat restoration, predominantly on antique vessels like pre-1950, mostly bigger boats. My space in a much larger facility in the Port Townsend boat yard. I'll be working on the Argonaut II as a part of the work release program from the Washington State Penitentiary.
You ready? Are we rolling? My name's Patrick. I'm having a bit of a identity crisis these days. I don't know if I'm a sculptor or a woodworker.
Hey, it's Patrick, and today is Mug Day in my clay studio.
Starting as a sculptor in Santa Fe, New Mexico, and came out here to Washington to work on a really cool boat called the Tally Ho, and have since been pursuing a career as a boat builder. Since the Tally Ho, I've been here in Port Townsend working on other projects, sailing yacht Latifa, and now I'm entering into my 3rd job as a boat builder, and that will be on Argonaut II. Really excited to be working with Al and with Pete and my friend Nick. It's gonna be great.
If you are not familiar with the Tally Ho project, give it a search on YouTube, as it's probably the most well-documented rebuild of a classic yacht, and it was a project that both Patty and Pete were integral in helping my friend Leo build something that was truly spectacular.
My LinkedIn says I'm a janitor on the International Space Station.
This is like when they spin off Lord of the Rings, right? What did the supporting characters, where are they now?
We've been in the same place this whole time.
Right. Same shit, different flag.
In 2023, Pete and a couple other shipwrights, Rowan Schatz and Quillen Hunt, joined me on Argonaut to help me replace 37 planks and sister in about 20 frames on the starboard side of the boat.
We did a bunch of steam bent oak frames on the starboard side and 30 planks, sponson and guard. When Nicholas showed up with the boat, he had lost a piece of the guard. There were chunks of the boat falling off when Nicholas showed up the first time.
So that is actually true. In fact, 4 pieces of the ice sheathing that protects the waterline of the boat fell off during a rough crossing when a large wave crashed over the bow. It must have shore off a piece of the guard, which Pete ended up replacing when he did the entire guard towards the end of the project. This coming project is going to be very similar, and here's a little bit of an intro of what it's going to look like over the next 4 to 5 months.
Is there Buzz?
Yeah.
Myself and 2 other shipwrights, Rowan and Quillen. 3 of us plus Nicholas and some volunteers at the time. 20 frames and 30 planks later, we mostly secured the starboard side of the boat. We tackled that. We got the starboard side as sound and seaworthy as we could. As far as the budget would take us, had a very good hunch that the other side of the boat was in similar condition.
And for those of you who have been following along for a while, you'll remember back in episode 3 where I actually almost sank the boat when I sprung a few planks at the bow and I took on thousands of gallons of water, which resulted in an emergency haul out in Vancouver.
Watch this video right here if you want to hear more about that.
Click the link above.
Crossing across the straits of Juan de Fuca.
Victoria Coast Guard Radio, Victoria Coast Guard Radio. This is Argonaut II. I am about a quarter mile south of Active Pass and taking on water. Let's look at some line drawings and go over the scope of the project, which will be determined by the amount of rot that we find in the center line of the boat, specifically in the aft stern assembly. This is a drawing that I'm trying to depict the center line or backbone of the boat and how it is built. Which pieces of wood are we trying to tackle on this project? We're going to start with the keel of the boat, which goes all the way from the rudder assembly forward to the bow. Sitting on top of the keel is another large timber, keelson, which accepts all the frames into the keel. On top of the keelson is what's called a shaft log, and this piece is where the shaft goes from inside of the boat through the hull to outside the boat. And then sitting on top of the log shaft is several pieces of wood that together make up the stern assembly. These 2 large stern timbers are going to be what represent the bulk of the project this winter.
Very apparent rot in the stern stem. There were like stainless steel all-thread rods holding those planks in on both sides.
And so what Pete's talking about is this stern timber here, which is a curved piece that comes out of the water and it accepts all the planking that's coming along the side of the boat into the stern timber. This project is going to replace this piece of wood, but as we dig deeper into the center line, there's a large piece of horn timber that sits on top of the shaft log. And it's the state of this horn timber that's going to be critical to how far into the project we have to go, digging out rot below the waterline. So what we're planning on this haul out is to at least attack this aft stern timber and then try to get into this horn timber. Now what is scary is depending on how far down we have to go, this project gets much bigger. And what I mean by that is underneath the deck right here is a big fuel tank, one of 3 that's in the boat, and then right here is that aft stateroom. If we have to go too far down into this horn timber, we may have to drop out that fuel tank and actually start cutting into that stateroom. If we can't access everything from the outside of the boat, we have to go through from the inside. And so there are different options here based on the amount of rot that we find, and hopefully we only have to go down as far as the rudder post, but it might be that we continue onwards and can scarf the horn timber, meaning we just replace a portion of it, and worst case scenario, we actually have to take the whole stern timber out, which exponentially adds to the cost and time that this project's going to take. And we're not going to know until we start pulling out the planks around the horn timber to be able to see if there is rot and if it extends down below the waterline. And so that's the idea of the project for right now. In total, it's going to represent about 4 to 5 months of work with 3 full-time shipwrights, myself full-time, and then a whole group of volunteers that are going to be helping along the way. But next, I'd like to take you through the very end of my charter season, where I had some time to myself to explore some of my favorite anchorages in the San Juan Islands prior to coming down to Port Townsend for the haul out. I love American Camp, which is a national park on the southern tip of San Juan Island, which has beautiful trails that run along beaches, through the woods, and on these beautiful bluffs looking out to the Strait of Juan de Fuca and the Olympic Peninsula Range. McKay Harbor is a lesser traveled to destination, primarily due to the exposure to the Juan de Fuca Strait. However, if you catch it on a good day, it's a great place to hang out and have a cocktail on the beach as you prepare yourself to transit across the Juan de Fuca Strait. This is just a solo meal, so I did a honey glazed sous vide carrot that was finished in the air fryer with a fig jam on a pork chop over rice. Cheers. After a series of beautiful weather days, I made my way up to Decatur Island, where I went ashore for a party, and the weather took a little bit of a turn for the worse, which resulted in a little bit of a mishap with my tender, Little Argo. Luckily, I was with a whole group of friends and a few dogs that were able to help me lift the boat out of the water and walk it down to the docks where, thank goodness, there were just a few bumps and scratches and nothing that a little bit of sandpaper and varnish can't rush. What had happened was this little I-bolt had actually pulled through the bow of the boat and was still tied on to the cleat with the bow line, and the boat drifted downwind into the rocks. Fortunately, just a few scratches, and Argonaut survived 46-mile-an-hour gusts into the evening out at anchor. Once the storm cleared, I made my way down to Port Townsend to meet with another shipwright, Zeal Velasquez, who helped me survey some of the rot on the port side of the boat, and who might be jumping into the project towards the end, sometime in February or March.
Doing some boatyard yoga. Yacht yoga?
Yacht yoga.
Boat yoga. Condition here. Or the frame condition. So to me, it looks like the stem knee was repaired. Because all this forward sole has been gotten into. It's been removed and replaced. There's a whole bunch of seams that are busted through. But they look tight, but somebody pounded a bunch of cotton in here. And honestly, the framing looks pretty good up here.
I don't think there's any rot in the boat.
Floor timbers that I talked about?
Yep. Zeal helped me estimate how much material I needed to buy, and we discussed different ways we could tackle the project and what it would look like to tackle some of the centerline work in the stern. I'm currently filming from Boston, Massachusetts, where I am taking this time between charters and my December 1st haul out to go home and visit some family before I tackle this project for 4 to 5 months of straight work. What are different ways that you can follow along on this project and help out if you choose to do so? Well, the easiest is to subscribe to this channel, but also to follow along on my Patreon, which is free to join, and will have a little bit of extra content, updates, photos, and newsletters along the way in addition to these videos. Now, there's a lot to do ahead of this project, and I am continuing to raise money to see if I can go ahead and complete the entire project, which is replanking the port side and attacking that centerline work. Now, all the money I'm raising through this channel is going directly to materials and to the shipwrights like Pete, Patty, Zeal, and Al Katz, who's going to be helping out as well. And I can tell you, every penny is going to go to support the trades, the preservation of the craftsmanship of traditional boat building, and to the ongoing story of Argonaut II, as we collectively agree that this boat is worth preserving and holding on to. Now, I obviously don't expect everyone to do so, but if those who are watching this video contribute $2 to $3 a month for the duration of this project, I do think I'll be able to fund most of it, and I'd love to be able to complete all the centerline work to make sure that this boat is set up for another 50 years of making history and cruising the Pacific Northwest. Thank you so much to everyone who's been helping out so far, and I look forward to the volunteers, to learning more about woodworking, and to document it all and share it with you over the course of this winter.
Coming to your YouTube feeds, Argonaut II. We got it? Wrap it up.